Emma had always been a quiet girl. She wasn't the kind of person who spoke loudly or drew attention to herself. She liked reading books, practicing her hobbies at home, and spending time with her family. But life had a way of throwing unexpected changes at her, and this time was no different. Her family was moving to a completely new place, a big city far from the small town she had lived in all her life. It was the kind of change that made her nervous but also a little curious. When Emma's dad told her the news, she felt a mix of emotions. She would miss her old school, her close friends, and the familiar streets she had known since she was a little girl. But at the same time, she wondered what it would be like to start fresh somewhere new. The new school was much bigger, with hundreds of students and hallways that seemed to stretch forever. Emma wasn't sure if she would fit in, or if anyone would want to be friends with the new girl. On her first day, Emma woke up early, dressed carefully in simple but neat clothes, and tried to stay calm. She packed her backpack with everything she needed: notebooks, pens, a lunchbox. Her mom gave her a warm hug before she left, reminding her to be herself and not worry about what others thought. Emma smiled but still felt butterflies in her stomach. At school, everything was overwhelming. The noise of the students talking and laughing, the ringing of bells, the shuffling feet in the hallways. It was all so different from what she was used to. She walked slowly to her classroom, trying to keep her head down so she wouldn't attract attention. But being new meant people noticed her, and whispers followed wherever she went. The first few days were hard. Some students stared at her curiously. Others ignored her completely. Emma tried to sit quietly and focus on her lessons, hoping to make a good impression on her teachers. She noticed a few girls in her class who seemed friendly, but she didn't want to seem too eager or awkward. Making friends was harder than she thought. Then there were the boys, a group of them who hung out together near the lockers and sometimes in the cafeteria. They were loud, confident, and always seemed to be looking for someone to tease or bother. Emma had heard stories from her old school about kids like this, and now she realized they existed here too. They didn't know her yet, but she could feel their eyes on her. What the boys didn't know was that Emma was not just any quiet girl. Since she was 7 years old, she had been learning martial arts. It was her secret strength. Her parents had signed her up for classes to help her build confidence and stay safe. Over the years, she had trained hard, learning how to defend herself calmly and carefully. But she never thought she would need to use those skills at school. Until now. Emma wanted to avoid trouble. She hoped the boys would leave her alone. But sometimes bullies don't care about wishes or hopes. They act because they want to feel powerful, and the new girl seemed like an easy target. One afternoon, while Emma was walking through the crowded school cafeteria, the boys decided to step in. They called her names, tried to get her attention, and when she ignored them, one of the boys grabbed the back of her skirt and lifted it quickly in front of everyone. The cafeteria went silent for a moment. Some students gasped, others stared, unsure what to do. Emma's face flushed with shock and embarrassment. She felt her heart pounding, but she didn't cry or scream. Instead, something inside her shifted. She remembered all the hours she had spent learning how to stay calm and focused. She turned to face the boys, her eyes steady. She didn't shout or act angry. She simply showed them that she wasn't scared. The boys were not prepared for this reaction. Emma's strength wasn't just physical. It was in her confidence and control. With quick, careful moves, she defended herself and showed them that bullying her was a mistake. The whole cafeteria watched in surprise as the boys were taken down one by one, left on the floor, confused and hurt. Afterward, the school was buzzing with talk about what had happened. Emma wasn't just the new girl anymore. She was someone who stood up for herself, who wouldn't be pushed around. The bullies learned a hard lesson, and the students learned to respect Emma's quiet strength. Emma's story wasn't just about fighting back physically. It was about being brave, being prepared, and showing that true strength comes from within. Over time, Emma started making friends, and even some of the boys who had bullied her began to change their behavior. She even started a self-defense club to help others learn how to protect themselves, just like she had. In the end, the new girl who once felt nervous and unsure became a symbol of courage and respect. Her story showed that sometimes standing up for yourself quietly and confidently can change everything. Emma's first days at the new school were tough, but she tried her best to stay calm and keep to herself. She wasn't looking for trouble or attention. She just wanted to learn, make some friends, and feel safe in a place that was completely unfamiliar to her. But sometimes, no matter how careful you are, life throws challenges right in your path. It was a typical day at school. The halls buzzed with students moving between classes, laughing, chatting, and sometimes pushing their way through crowded doorways. The cafeteria was packed for lunch, filled with the noise of trays clattering, people talking loudly, and the smell of food wafting through the air. Emma had learned quickly that the cafeteria was one of the hardest places to be as the new girl. Everyone seemed to already have their groups, their seats, their friends. There was no obvious place for her. She grabbed her lunch tray and looked around, searching for a seat where she wouldn't be too visible but could still sit down and eat. She spotted a small table near the window with a few empty chairs. She headed there, hoping to keep a low profile. But luck wasn't on her side. That day, as Emma walked past one of the large tables, a group of boys she had noticed before whispered loudly and nudged each other. They were the ones who seemed to enjoy making others uncomfortable. Emma had seen them hang around, laughing and joking, but also looking for someone to pick on. Today they had turned their attention to her. One of the boys, a tall kid with a smirk, reached out suddenly and grabbed the back of Emma's skirt. In one quick motion, he lifted it up, right there in the crowded cafeteria. The moment felt frozen. Time seemed to slow down. Students nearby gasped, some whispered, some froze in shock. Emma's heart pounded like a drum in her chest. Her face turned bright red with embarrassment. She felt exposed, vulnerable, and furious all at once. Her first instinct was to want to run away, to hide, maybe even cry. But then something inside her took over. She had trained for moments like this, moments when she needed to be strong, steady, and clear-headed. The years of martial arts practice weren't just about fighting. They were about control, awareness, and confidence. She didn't want to cause more trouble, but she wasn't going to let this humiliation pass without standing up for herself. Without saying a word, Emma turned slowly to face the boys. Her eyes locked on the tallest one, the one who had lifted her skirt. She didn't scream or shout, but her calmness was striking. It was as if she was saying, "I'm not afraid of you." The boys were caught off guard. They expected her to be shocked or scared, maybe to cry or run away, but she stood there steady and composed. Then, with quick and precise movements, Emma defended herself. She moved in ways she had practiced hundreds of times before: a leg sweep, a wrist lock. And two of the boys were suddenly on the floor, surprised and struggling to get up. The third boy stumbled backward, his face filled with shock. The cafeteria was silent. No one had expected this. Some students stared wide-eyed, others whispered quietly. A teacher who had been nearby rushed over, seeing the boys on the floor, and Emma standing calmly. The boys were hurt, moaning softly. Emma didn't smile or brag. She just stood quietly, knowing she had done what was needed to protect herself. After that moment, things changed quickly. The boys were taken to the principal's office, and the incident became the talk of the school. Some students admired Emma's courage. Others were surprised that the quiet new girl could stand up so firmly. Teachers talked about bullying and respect. Emma's story spread not just in school but online, as students shared what they had seen. Emma didn't want fame or attention. She wanted respect and safety, for herself and for others who might be bullied. The experience showed her that standing up for yourself didn't mean being loud or mean. It meant being calm, prepared, and confident. In the days that followed, Emma noticed things changing around her. Some of the boys who had teased her started to keep their distance. Some even apologized quietly. Other students, who had ignored her before, now said hello or smiled in the hallways. Emma felt a little more at home. She began to realize that sometimes people respect you not because you shout the loudest, but because you show strength in the way you carry yourself. Emma's quiet power had made a difference. It was a moment that would shape her time at the new school and teach others a valuable lesson about courage and self-respect. And so, from that day forward, Emma didn't just walk through the hallways as the new girl who was bullied. She walked as someone who could stand strong, who could protect herself, and who would never let anyone make her feel small again. The moment Emma faced the bullies, everything changed. In just a few seconds, what seemed like a moment of humiliation turned into a powerful lesson in courage and control. When the boy lifted Emma's skirt, the cafeteria fell silent. Some students gasped, some stared, and a few looked away, unsure of what to do. Emma's heart was pounding fast, but inside her, a calmness began to grow. She knew she had to do something, not out of anger or fear, but because she deserved respect. Emma had been learning martial arts since she was 7. For years, she practiced regularly with her instructor, mastering not just punches and kicks, but control, balance, and discipline. She learned how to stay calm under pressure, how to read a situation, and how to defend herself with the least amount of force needed. This training wasn't just about fighting, it was about protecting herself and others. As Emma slowly turned around, the boys didn't expect what was coming next. They thought she would cry or run away. Instead, they saw a girl standing tall, eyes steady and focused. She was not afraid. With a quick and precise motion, Emma moved. Her first move was a leg sweep, a technique she had practiced countless times. The boy who had lifted her skirt lost his balance and fell backward onto the cafeteria floor. The sound of him hitting the ground echoed through the silent room. Without wasting a second, Emma moved toward the next boy who tried to step forward. Using a wrist lock she had learned, she twisted his arm gently but firmly, causing him to wince and fall to his knees. The third boy, shocked by what he had just seen, stumbled back, unsure whether to fight or run. The cafeteria was completely quiet now. No one dared to move or speak. The usual noise of chatter and laughter had disappeared. Everyone was watching, stunned by the unexpected strength and calmness of the girl they had just teased. At that moment, a teacher who was nearby rushed over. She saw the boys on the floor, the shocked looks on everyone's faces, and Emma standing calmly. The teacher quickly intervened, helping the boys up and taking them away from the scene. Emma didn't say a word. She simply stood still, breathing evenly, her heart slowing down. Inside, she felt a mix of emotions, relief, pride, and a little sadness that it had come to this. But most of all, she felt empowered. For the first time since moving to the new school, she knew she could stand her ground. After the incident, the school went into a buzz. Students talked in whispers about what had happened. Some called Emma brave. Others were surprised that she could fight back so well. The boys who had tried to humiliate her were left with bruises, and pride hurt worse than their bodies. The principal called Emma into the office to talk about what had happened. Emma explained calmly how she had only defended herself when the boys attacked her. The principal listened carefully, impressed by her maturity and honesty. He told Emma she wouldn't be punished because she had acted in self-defense. The boys, however, faced suspension for bullying. News of the incident spread beyond the school. Some students shared the story on social media, where many praised Emma for standing up for herself. Others debated whether violence was the right response, but most agreed that bullying was wrong and that Emma had handled the situation with respect and control. Emma's parents were proud but also worried. They knew their daughter was strong, but they didn't want her to get hurt. They spoke with the school principal and Emma's martial arts instructor, who both supported Emma's actions and praised her for staying calm and controlled. In the days that followed, Emma noticed changes around her. The boys who had bullied her avoided her, keeping their distance. Other students who had ignored her before now greeted her with smiles or simple hellos. Some even asked about her martial arts classes, curious to learn more. Emma realized that strength was not just about physical power. It was about confidence, respect, and knowing when and how to act. Her training had given her the tools she needed to protect herself, but her calmness had earned her respect. She decided to use this experience to help others. Emma spoke with her teachers and started a self-defense club at school. The club welcomed anyone who wanted to learn how to protect themselves, regardless of their size or strength. Even some of the boys who had once teased her joined, eager to learn and change. Over time, the school culture began to shift. Students became more aware of bullying and how to stand up against it. Emma's quiet leadership inspired others to be brave in their own ways. She showed that courage didn't have to be loud or aggressive. It could be calm, steady, and powerful. Emma's story became more than just about one incident. It was about finding strength in difficult moments, standing up with dignity, and helping others do the same. She was no longer just the new girl. She was a role model and a leader. Through it all, Emma stayed humble. She never wanted to be known for fighting, but for showing that respect and courage could overcome fear and bullying. Her journey taught her and everyone around her that sometimes the greatest power comes from within, from staying calm, being prepared, and standing tall, no matter what. After the incident in the cafeteria, things at school changed quickly for Emma, and not always in ways she expected. What happened that day wasn't just about a fight. It became a turning point for the entire school community. Emma's story spread like wildfire, and everyone started talking about it. Some were amazed by her courage. Others worried about what it meant for how the school handled bullying and discipline. At first, Emma thought she might get into trouble. After all, she had fought back and caused some of the boys to fall to the floor. Fighting was usually not allowed in school, and she wondered if she might be punished. But when the principal called her to the office, she was surprised. He wasn't angry. Instead, he wanted to understand what really happened. Emma calmly told him the story, how the boys had bullied her, how one of them had lifted her skirt, and how she had only defended herself after that. The principal listened carefully, nodding. He said the school had a strict anti-bullying policy and that the boys' actions were unacceptable. Emma had acted in self-defense, so she wouldn't be punished. The boys, however, were suspended for a week. The school made it clear that bullying would not be tolerated. This was a big deal. Suspensions sent a message to all the students that the school was serious about making it a safe place for everyone. News about the incident didn't stay inside the school walls. Some students shared videos and stories on social media. Emma's courage became known not only at school, but also in the local community. People praised her for standing up to bullies and protecting herself without losing control. But not everyone agreed. Some people worried that fighting back could make things worse, or that violence should never be the answer. They debated whether Emma's response was appropriate and whether schools should focus more on teaching students how to resolve conflicts peacefully. Emma's parents followed the discussions closely. They were proud of their daughter's strength and how she handled the situation, but also concerned about the attention it brought. They wanted Emma to stay safe and not face any more bullying or backlash. The school worked hard to address the problem. They organized meetings with students, parents, and teachers to talk about bullying, respect, and how to support each other. They invited experts to give talks on kindness and conflict resolution. Emma was asked to speak at one of these meetings, and she did so with quiet confidence, sharing her experience and encouraging others to stand up for themselves in peaceful ways. At school, the atmosphere began to change. Students became more aware of the impact of their actions. Some of the boys who had bullied Emma started to act differently. A few even apologized privately, showing they had learned from the experience. Others kept their distance, realizing that Emma was not someone to mess with. Emma herself remained humble throughout. She didn't want to be seen as a fighter or a hero. She just wanted to be treated fairly and have friends. But slowly, students began to see her in a new light, as someone strong, brave, and kind. With encouragement from her teachers and family, Emma decided to use her experience to help others. She talked to the principal about starting a self-defense club at school. The club's goal was not to teach fighting, but to teach students how to protect themselves, stay confident, and handle difficult situations safely. The club was open to all students, boys and girls alike. Emma helped organize classes with her martial arts instructor and invited guest speakers to talk about bullying, respect, and self-confidence. The club quickly became popular. Many students joined, including some who had once been bullies themselves. They wanted to learn how to be stronger, not just physically but emotionally. Through the club, Emma made new friends. She connected with students who shared her interests and values. She felt more at home in the school than ever before. Her story inspired others to speak up, to stand up against bullying, and to be kind. Emma also learned important lessons. She understood that sometimes courage means standing quietly and firmly, not just loudly. She saw how one person's strength could change a whole community. Most importantly, she realized that respect is earned through actions and kindness, not fear or force. The school's culture began to shift. Teachers noticed fewer bullying incidents. Students were more supportive of each other. The school was not perfect, but it was moving in the right direction. Emma's journey wasn't over, but she had come a long way from being the nervous new girl. She had found her voice, her confidence, and her place. And she knew that whatever challenges came next, she would face them with strength and grace. Looking back, Emma saw that the incident in the cafeteria was not just a moment of conflict, it was the beginning of something bigger, a story about courage, respect, and standing up for what is right. After everything that had happened, the bullying, the fight back, the change in the school, Emma's life started to settle into a new rhythm. She had learned a lot during her first months at the new school, and those lessons stayed with her every day. But more than that, Emma discovered something important. True strength isn't just about defending yourself when things go wrong, it's also about forgiveness, kindness, and helping others stand tall too. With the self-defense club Emma helped start now running well, she found herself busier than ever. Students from different grades joined, eager to learn how to protect themselves and build confidence. Some came because they had been bullied before, others because they wanted to be stronger and braver. Emma's instructors taught not only physical moves, but also how to stay calm in tough situations, how to use words to stop fights before they started, and how to build friendships that made school a better place. Emma loved seeing the club grow. It wasn't just about learning moves or winning fights. It was about creating a community where students felt safe, respected, and valued. The club meetings became a place where students shared their stories, supported each other, and learned new ways to face challenges with courage. One day, a girl named Lily joined the club. Lily was shy and quiet, much like Emma had been when she first came to the school. Lily had been bullied too, called names, ignored by others, even pushed in the hallways. But when she started coming to the self-defense club, something changed. She began to smile more, speak up more, and walk with her head held high. Emma saw herself in Lily and knew how important this club was. Emma also noticed that the school had changed in other ways. Teachers were more attentive to bullying, listening carefully to students and stepping in quickly when problems arose. Students were kinder to each other, learning that respect was more important than popularity or power. The hallways, once filled with whispers and cruel jokes, now echoed with laughter and friendly greetings. But Emma's journey was not without challenges. There were still moments when she felt nervous or unsure. Sometimes she wondered if people would accept her completely, or if she would always be the girl who fought back. There were days when she missed her old friends and the comfort of her old home. Moving to a new city and school had changed her life in ways she hadn't expected. One afternoon, after a long day at school, Emma sat quietly in the library. She thought about everything she had been through, the scary moments, the victories, the friendships, and the lessons. She realized how much she had grown. She was no longer just the new girl or the victim. She was a leader, a helper, and a friend. Emma's parents noticed this change too. They saw her confidence shining brighter, her smile coming more easily. They were proud of her, not just because of what she had done, but because of who she had become. They encouraged her to keep being herself, to keep helping others, and to never forget the power of kindness. As months turned into a year, Emma found herself standing up not just for herself, but for others. She spoke at school events about bullying and courage. She shared her story with younger students who were struggling. She worked with teachers to make the school safer and more welcoming. Emma knew that change didn't happen overnight, but every small step counted. One day, a school assembly was held to celebrate kindness and respect. Emma was invited to speak in front of the entire school. Standing on the stage, she looked out at the sea of faces. Some familiar, some new. She felt a little nervous, but also proud. Emma spoke about her journey, the hard times, the fight, the friends, and the lessons. She talked about how important it was to be brave not just in moments of danger, but every day in how we treat each other. She reminded everyone that kindness was a choice, and respect was something we earned by how we act. Her speech was met with applause and smiles. Many students came up afterward to thank her or tell her their own stories. Emma realized that she had made a real difference. Her voice had helped others find theirs. Life continued with ups and downs, but Emma faced each day with courage and grace. She knew that standing up for yourself was important, but standing up for others was just as powerful. She had learned that true strength was not just about fighting, but about caring, understanding, and lifting each other up. Looking back, Emma felt grateful for the challenges she had faced. They had taught her lessons she would carry forever. She had discovered the power inside herself, a power that came from kindness, confidence, and courage. Emma's story became one of hope and inspiration. It showed that no matter how hard things get, we all have the ability to stand tall, help others, and make the world a better place, one kind act at a time.